I got a new eBay purchase you can see on the screen.
Oh, pop your thing down so we can see.
From the 80s here. It's an old ACC basketball tournament. I got to put this thing all down. Basketball at its best, Wes. I'm very excited about this because I'll be going to Cameron Indoor Stadium tonight to go watch Ohio State and Duke, ACC Big Ten Challenge. The last of the ACC Big Ten challenges.
Yeah.
TV getting in the way, man. No Fox deal.
Pour one out for the ACC Big Ten Challenge, Gilio. We've come to the end.
What, 23 years of the ACC Big Ten Challenge?
24. Yeah.
We'll get an ACC SEC Challenge in the future.
Yeah, I can't wait to I joked with somebody today, can't wait to see Duke at the Hump in Starkville against Mississippi State on a Tuesday night.
They're going to quickly ask, hey, can both Carolina and Duke play Kentucky, please?
Yeah, you know what? Don't forget the Texas-Oklahoma integers in this algebra we're going to write.
That's true. Get the Rick Barnes Invitational at the Smith Center.
How about the Clemson-Tennessee game? See the PDF Pantone colors of orange. I don't know. I think it's going to be good. I think that I have an issue with the December part of this problem.
Okay.
I think this is, in all honesty, I think the SEC Big 12 got it right, and I think it needs to be a February, late January, post-Super Bowl event, for lack of a better term. But, it is what it is to start, and we'll see where it goes. Hey, look, everything's flexible at this point. Everything's fluid. And if the revenue's right, we'll play it when you want to play it, right?
Yeah, that's ultimately what it comes down to, it being the revenue. So we got, before we get to football,
sure,
we got Carolina and Duke in action tonight. Ohio State at Cameron Indoor Stadium. The Tar Heels going up to Indiana. Both teams are curious cases, but not for the same reasons, right? I think with Duke, we'll start with Duke. We don't know what this Duke team is. Injuries, as Gilio has pointed out, has kind of short-circuited the start of this team. It'll be if everybody gets healthy, it'll be a completely different group by the time January rolls around.
Yeah.
Carolina, they have the known parts, but it looks like Hubert Davis is trying to get the parts to work together again like they did at the end of last season. A lot of it is related to the shot selection that we're seeing right now from Caleb Love, specifically. R.J. Davis thrown in there as well. So you want to start with Tar Heels here or the Blue Devils?
Well, I've seen Carolina. I'll see Duke Saturday against Boston College. And obviously I'll watch tonight because I'm like everybody else. I want to see the chemistry project that John Shire has to mix, right?
Yeah.
I think the other part we have to remember in this, and this is not from a conversation with Coach Davis or with anybody else in particular, it's a common theme that we're hearing as we move through the early stages of the basketball season, in that coaches are talking about every year now being different because your rosters are turbulent, right? I mean, I had Clemson last night, who brings back a handful of guys that you're familiar with, but at the same time, too, they're integrating guys maybe that play bigger roles and things like that. And while we often perceive in college basketball, like Virginia or in the case of Notre Dame the last couple of years, the older teams, the better teams, I think even the teams that bring back 3 and 4 starters still have some growing to do about certain disciplines on the floor. For Carolina, I not only think it's shot selection, Joe, I'll throw rebounding in there.
Okay.
Carolina's got to be a better rebounding team.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, and I think it's keeping an eye on Armando Bacot and where is he, right? I mean, there was some speculation that he didn't look 100% early on this season.
Sure.
And then we come to find out after a 4 overtime, I don't want to call it a thriller, but it was certainly a game. With Alabama, he's talking about extreme ankle pain, but apparently he's going to be good to go tonight. If Armando's not 100% to do exactly what he's really good at, then yes, those rebounding numbers are not going to look so pretty.
Yeah, true. And I think also we have to remember that Pete Nance is not Brady Manick in the Carolina file either, right? And you're bringing Seth Trimble off the bench. You're trying to play Tyler Nickel a little bit. I would equate it to the same learning curve that's going on at NC State, where you have, 2 or 3 guys from a year ago. Terquavion obviously is the guy that's playing the most minutes there. But at the same time, you're putting Jarquell Joyner in the mix. You're putting these other cats in the mix.
I
And
think you just lost Gilio.
Why'd I lose Gilio? I mean, they're all going through this whole deal where they're trying to find out about each other because the rosters are so daggone flammable in the offseason again.
It's a very broad brush. Wes Durham joining us here on the Easter Automotive Group hotline. Yeah, I mean, Carolina's got 4 of their main parts back from a team that lost in the national championship. NC State had the worst record in school history.
Right.
As one player back. I guess we can count Casey Marcel, I guess, but
but tell me that this whole turbulent piece with the transfer portal and all this other grad stuff, it's impacting rosters year to year.
Of course.
When I talked to Leonard Hamilton a week ago, it was like he was telling me there's a whole new team out there for him, and he had 3 starters back, right, including the 6th man of the year, Matthew Cleveland. It's just interesting to listen to these coaches talk about the different dynamic they now have compared to what they have, 4 years ago, I guess.
It is different. And I think in Duke's case, we're talking about health, right? Tariq Whitehead, Derek Lively, top 2 players in the class. We haven't we've seen a little bit more of Whitehead. We're getting more and more glimpses of. And for Duke's case and specifically, it's November. Right? I mean, they have some time to figure it out. And again, I wouldn't panic if I was Carolina either. But yeah, I honestly, Wes, I do think there is a difference between having 4 guys back of that.
Oh, there's no question about that. I mean, I'm not galvanizing, but I'm saying everybody's got some degree of transition they're having to go through.
You have to figure it out. And unfortunately for the league, Carolina and Duke losing the games that they did is going to hurt the league, because I don't see teams picking off random Tuesday nights in Charlottesville. I see Virginia being 18-2 at worst in the league. And you got to remember, Carolina didn't get in last year until they beat Duke. And Duke had the wins out of the league that mattered. Wake Forest was punished or not rewarded, same thing, for beating Carolina, because Carolina didn't beat anybody out of the league. So to me, I look at the start of the season for the ACC, and they should be worried. And I hear you about the transition, and I hear you about Florida. Florida State's a big problem right now. Louisville, fine. There's a reset button going on there. State can put themselves on the bubble. Wake Forest can put themselves on the bubble. But at some point, you got to pick teams off.
The biggest problem for the ACC right now is not repeating what happened last year, where the teams that are bad right now and creating this baseline that's got like the ACC 6th in Ken Palm.
Right.
Knocking off the teams that they shouldn't. Like Syracuse being
teams,
bad has to stay bad in the ACC. Otherwise, it's really going to start screwing stuff up. Florida State might be the trickiest one of the group, because I know they're supposed to get one of their top guys back after suspension. But
it's 16 games in before the legendary Baba Miller shows up. Okay, and I watched Baba Miller practice and work out last week when I was down there, and I mean, he's a nice player. He's a 6'11" kid who's clearly gifted on the perimeter, but I'm not sure Baba Miller's going to make a 5-win difference in the ACC. And that may be what it takes for Florida State.
Maybe.
And you're right about, let me tell you this, you're exactly right about where Syracuse and Louisville are. And, what Pitt did to Northwestern the other night's fine, but, Pitt's got some losses that they'd like to cash back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a 4, 5, 6 Gilio discussion at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Let's go to a better.
No, and it's not good. And here's the other part too. Where's it going to get better?
And that's the problem we saw last year. It's hard to get the traction back after the numbers are set in stone.